Hello everyone, I am Karan Masru. Welcome to this video. So as of all of us know that ICC Cricket World Cup 2023 is going on. So I have made this DSA question on the cricket theme based, that is make best team for World Cup 2023. Now before proceeding to the solution, I would highly recommend all of you to pause this video, and the link to this question is given there in the description. Go to that link and try this question by yourself. It is a very interesting question. First try it by yourself. If you are not able to solve this question, or if you would like to see my approach, then come back and watch this video. Also, if you like this question, make sure you hit the like button. Let's keep a target of 1000 likes for this video. Now let's start by understanding this question. So let's start by understanding the question. ICC Cricket World Cup 2023 is going on and you need to make your own team. There are a total of n players given. You are also given the average of these n players in the form of an array A. These average values are non-negative integers. So what is basically saying is that we need to make our own team out of the n players which are given. Also, we are given the average runs scored by each of these players in the form of an array A. Okay, and these are non-negative integers, means these are integer values greater than equal to 0. These n players are standing in a queue. Now you need to pick some players from the given n players to form your own team. Okay, the rules for selecting players are as follows. So let us assume that these n players are standing in a queue from 1 to 3 up till n, and we need to pick some players, and the rules for picking players are as follows. First, at every step you select at most one player from the remaining players and who is not selected in previous rounds. Remember, selecting a player does not remove him from the queue. Okay, so what basically saying that every step we will select at most one player. Also, he should not be selected in previous rounds, so we cannot select one player multiple times. Also, when we select one player, he will not be removed from the queue. It's just that we will not be able to select him again. Okay, how players will be removed from the queue is given in the second step. After every step, first and last player in the remaining queue are removed. So after the ith step, where I starts from 1, ith player and n minus I plus 1th player are removed from the queue. We keep repeating this process until the queue becomes empty. Okay, so basically after every step from the remaining players, first and last player will be removed. Okay, so let's say there are n players, so you select any of the player, then first and last, that is first player and 8th player will be removed from the queue and will not be considered for further rounds. Okay, irrespective of whether you selected that player or not, they will be removed from the queue. Then after the second step, second and 7th player will be removed. After the third step, third and 6th player will be removed, and we keep repeating this process until the queue becomes empty. So at every step, first you select a player from the remaining players and which is not selected before. Now this statement will make more sense. Remember, selecting a player does not remove him from the queue. So players are removed from the queue at every step. The first and last players are removed, but a selected player does not mean we will remove him from the queue. Okay, and then we keep removing first and last player, so array size decreases by 2 at every step. Also, if there is only one player at the end, then that player will be removed. Okay, because that's the single player, first as well as last, and we keep repeating this process until queue becomes empty. Your task is to select the players for your team in such a way that the sum of average of players of your team is maximum possible. So at every step we are selecting some player. So we need to select the players in such a way that by the end, the sum of the average of the players of our team is as maximum as possible. Okay, and the average is given to us in the form of an array A. Okay, so if we look at the examples, let's say there are 5 players and the average of these players is 1, 5, 2, 4, 3. Then the maximum answer is 11. So what we can do is we can take 4 in the first step, then 1 and 3 will go, then we can take 5 in the second step, then 5 and 4 will go, then we can select 2 in the third step, 2 will go, array will become empty. So our sum will become 4 plus 5 plus 2, that is 11, and that's the maximum possible average possible. Okay, you can look at this example here. We will also look at how the working of it in detail while explaining the concept. So in the first move, select the player with index 4, that is this average 4, then remove the first and last player. Okay, at every step first and last player will be removed, so the array, remaining array will be this. In the second move, select the player with index 1, so index 1 in the remaining array. Okay, this is written for explanation purposes. It does not necessarily mean that you should modify the array after every step. Okay, it will depend upon your implementation. So from the remaining array you can select the first player whose average is 5, and then first and last player will be removed and 2 will be left. Now you can select this single player and that will also be removed, and the array will become empty, and we will stop the process. The total sum of averages 4 plus 5 plus 2 is 11. Similarly, here 1551, the maximum you will get is 10. You don't need to read, input or print anything. Your task is to complete the function maximum sum, which takes integer n and 1D integer array a as parameters and returns the maximum sum of average of players of your team. So we need to return the maximum sum of average of the players possible. Okay, the number of players are up to 10 ki power 5, and the average runs of each player can go up till 10 ki power 9. Of course, it's practically not possible, but this is for question purposes. Okay, now let's look at its solution. So if we think about solving this problem, then here let us consider these 3 cases. Okay, these 2 cases were given in the example. So first, let's exactly understand what's happening. Okay, so let's say our array is 1, 5, 2, 4, 3. What it is said that you can select any player and add it to your team. Okay, and the sum of the average of your players must be maximum. So let us assume then that I picked 3. Okay, so I picked 3. Then after the first step, this and this will be removed. They will not be under consideration anymore. In the second step, these are my remaining players. Okay, I know 5 and 4 will be removed, so let me take 5. Okay, now these and these will be removed and will not be considered for further rounds. 2 is the only remaining, I take it, and now 2 is the only player, it will also be removed, and the sum which I get is 10. Okay, in this way we need to select. At every step the first and last player will go away. Okay, but a better approach for this example would be what? Let us say A is 1, 5, 2, 4, 3. Then in the first step I have all the 5 players. So let me take the player whose average is 4. Okay, so I take the player whose average is 4. Now this player and this player will go away. They will be removed. Remember, 4 will not be removed. It cannot be selected for further rounds, but it will not be removed. Every time the first and last player will be removed, irrespective of whether they were selected or not. Okay, now the remaining is 5, 2 and 4, but 4 cannot be selected again. So let me select 5. Okay, now, so I selected this. Now 5 and 4 will be removed. Now only 2 is left. So I selected 2 and that will also be removed. Array will become empty and this will give me 11. This is the maximum possible. Okay, so this is exactly what's happening. Now, so we knew the order of this. Okay, now let's think about it. Okay, before thinking about that, I would like to tell that there are 2 basic approaches which will come to your mind if you think immediately. Okay, but which are wrong. The first is that at every step first and last player will go away. So let us take the maximum of first or last player and then remove them, and then again the maximum of first and last player and remove them, but that will not work. Why? Look at this example, 1551. Okay, so if you take the maximum of first and last player, that is 1551, thinking that these 2 are going away and will not be considered for further rounds, so maximum of 1 and 1 is 1. Okay, now these 2 are removed. Now you take maximum of 5 and 5, that is 5. So your sum of average of the players is 6. Now this and this will also be removed. Okay, what we did, at every step we knew that first and last player will go away. So we took maximum of both of them and keep moving forwards. But that's not working. Why? Because here we got 6. But a better approach would be, we could have taken this 5 in the first step. So our answer would be 5 plus. Now this and this will be removed. And I should have taken this 5 in the second step. So I would get 10. That's the maximum possible. So here the maximum possible is 11. Here the maximum possible is 10. So picking the maximum of first and last player at every step will not work. First thing. Second thing is, some people might think, okay, let's pick the highest n by 2 players. The highest n by 2 players who have the highest average. Okay, but that will also not work. Why? Look at this example. Here it is 1, 5, 2, 4, 3. The highest n by 2 players average is 3, 4 and 5, and the sum of this is 12. Okay, but you cannot consider player with average 3, 4 and 5 keeping the conditions given in the question. Why? See, we know that after first step 1 and 3 will go away. So if I want 3, this is my only option to take player with average 3, so I took it. Okay, so it is 3 plus. Now after first step 1 and 3 went away. Now I want 4 and 5. Okay, I also know that after second step 5 and 4 will go away, so I cannot select both of them. I can select at most one player in any step, so let me take 5. Okay, but now this and this will go away, so now the only remaining is 2, so I was not able to select 3, 4 and 5. Okay, if I started with 5, let's say 1, 5, 2, 4, 3, let me start by picking 4. Okay, so now this cannot be picked for further rounds, and 1 and 3 will go away after the first round, because the last 2 players, the corner 2 players, will go away. Now in further rounds I will not get 3. Let me take 5. Okay, in the next step now 5 and 4 will go away, and let me take 2, that is 11. That's the maximum possible. But no matter what order I try, keeping the conditions given in the question in mind, I can never pick the players with average values 3, 4 and 5. So taking the highest average n by 2 players will also not work. Okay, so we need to think of something better. Okay, so what we can do here is, see, we can think of this question in reverse direction. We can think of the last step of picking players first, because that would be more efficient for us. Why? That would be better for us. So let us take this example: A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, A6, A7 and A8. Okay, so let us assume there are 8 players and these are the average values. Now in the first step I have all the 8 players to select from. Okay, then irrespective of which player I select, A1 and A8 will go away. Then in the second step I will have A2 to A7. This is first step, this is second step. In the third step I will have A3 to A6. In the fourth step I will have A4 and A5, and there will be no fifth step. My array will be empty. In the first step I have the complete array, then A1 and A8 will go. In the next step I have the array A2 to A7, then A2 and A7 will go. In the third step I have A3 to A6, then A3 and A6 will go, then I have A4 and A5. Okay, so now after that the array will become empty, right? So let us think of this in reverse direction. In the last step I will have 2 players, A4 and A5, from which I have to select. In the second last step I will have A3, A4, A5 and A6 to select from. In the third last step I will have A2, A3, A4, A5, A6 and A7 to select from. And in the first step I will have the complete array. So what is the advantage of this? So in the fourth step I will have A4 and A5 to select from. I know that. So what I'll do, I'll put A4 and A5 in a priority queue. I will put A4 and A5 in a priority queue. Okay, so let us assume this is our priority queue. I pushed A4 and A5 in it. Okay, now I know that in this fourth step I can select any of the elements, okay, from this. So what I'll do, priority element, the top element will be of maximum value, so I'll take the top element from the priority queue and it will be the maximum. So let us take, I got A4. Okay, A4 was the top element of the priority queue. It means A4 is greater than A5. So I removed it, because once a player is selected, it cannot be considered for further rounds. Okay, so if I selected A4 in the fourth round, in the last round, then in the previous rounds, first round and second round and third round, I should have not have considered A4. Are you getting my point? So whenever I select a player, I remove it from the priority queue. Now this was the fourth step, that is the last step. Now let's come to the third step. Okay, we are moving in reverse direction. Fourth step, third step, second step and first step. Okay, now in the third step, A3, A4, A5 and A6, these 4 elements were under consideration. I can pick any of them. So what I'll do, I'll push A3 and A6 in my priority queue. So this will be added to my priority queue. Now the top element of this will be selected in the third step, because I can select A3, A4, A5 or A6, anything, but A4 was selected in fourth step. So now the remaining in the third step is A3, A5 and A6, and in priority queue the top element will be of maximum value. Let's say A6 is the top element of the priority queue. So I selected it and I popped it out, because I cannot select the same player again. Now in the second step I had the array from A2 to A7. So I'll add A2 and A7 to my priority queue. Okay, again let's say the top element in the priority queue now is A5. So I'll add A5 to my answer and remove it from the priority queue. Now in the first step I had the complete array, so let us add A1 and A8 to the priority queue. So A4, A5, A6 are selected in some rounds, they cannot be selected further, and the top element from this priority queue will be added to my answer. Let us say A1 is the biggest element, so I add it to my answer and remove it from the priority queue. So this would be my answer. Okay, so instead of thinking that this is my first step of complete array of 8 elements, then 6 elements, then 4 elements, then 2 elements, we thought it in reverse direction. Okay, so first we thought pick the top element from A4 and A5 and remove it from the priority queue, then add A3 and A6 to the priority queue because they were eligible in the third step, and again select the top element. So in this way we will keep the conditions also in order which were given in the question, and we will get the maximum possible answer. Now let's apply this, let's dry run this on these 3 examples so you will get clear idea. So let's dry run our approach on the first example. Okay, so understand one thing, it is 1 5 2 4 3. Okay, so in the first step I had the whole array, in the second step I will have these 3 elements, and in the third step I will have only this single element. Now we will move in reverse direction. Okay, but whenever the number of elements are odd, what we do is, see, in the last step we have only the middle element. Okay, so there is no choice between 2 elements. Okay, and the integers are non-negative integers. So what I'll do when the number of elements is odd, I'll not add this element to the priority queue because adding it and again removing it does not make sense. So I'll take it in my answer because in the last step I have only that element, right? Now I'll expand my array and add to my priority queue 5 and 4. Okay, so this was the third step. Okay, now let's come to the second step because we are moving in reverse direction. So I'll take the top element of the priority queue and add it to my answer and remove it. Now I'll add 1 and 3 to my priority queue. Now the top element is 4, so I'll add it to my answer, remove it from the priority queue, and the number of steps are over and the answer is 11. Okay, now let's dry run on this. So it is 1 5 5 1. Okay, so here in the last step it would be 5 and 5. So I will add 5 and 5 to my priority queue, add the top element of the priority queue to my answer. Both of them are same. One will be taken and removed from the priority queue because the same player cannot be selected again. In the second last step or the first step, the whole array would be under consideration. So I'll add 1 1 to my priority queue and pop out the top element of the priority queue and add it to my answer. Okay, so my answer will be 10. Now let's dry run on this. So it is 1 3 2 1 4 3. Okay, so this would be the first step, this would be the second step, and this would be the third step. We are moving in reverse direction. So let's put 2 1 in my priority queue, pop out the top element and add it to the answer. So 2 will be removed. Okay, this was 2. Now in the second last step the array was 3 2 1 4, so we'll add 3 and 4 to the priority queue because now we want them to be under consideration. Now pop out the top element and add it to the answer. Okay, so 4 will be removed. Now in the first step 1 3 2 1 4 3 were under consideration, so 1 and 3 will be added to the priority queue and the top element from the priority queue will be removed, and so your answer will become 9. Okay, so this was in reverse direction. Now if you actually understand what happened, so here in the first step I took 2, we were going in reverse direction. In the next step I got 5 and in the third step I got 4. Okay, so actually what is happening, in the first step I'll take 4, then 3 and 1 will be removed. In the next step I'll take 5, then 4 and 5 will be removed. In the third step I'll take 2, then 2 will be removed, and we will stop. So we'll get 11. Here what's happening, in the first step I took 5, then 1 and 1 will be removed according to the question. Then suppose I selected this 5, okay, and marked it as true. So in the next step I'll take the another 5 and then these 2 will be removed. My array will become empty and sum will become 10. Here this was our implementation, but what's the actual, if we look at according to the question, so we had the whole array under consideration and we took 3. So we took this 3 and added it to our answer, then this and these elements were removed. Then we took 4 and added it to our answer. So we took 4 and added it to our answer, then this and these elements were removed, and then we took 2 and added it to our answer, then these and these were removed, and the sum maximum we got was 9. Okay, so this is the process. We think of it in reverse direction. At every step we expand the array by 2 elements and add those elements to the priority queue and pop out the top element of the priority queue and add it to our answer. Now let's look at its actual implementation. So now if we look at the actual implementation, so what I have done, I have taken one long answer equals to 0, some variables, and I have taken one priority queue. And if the number of elements is odd, then first of all add the centermost element to our answer. So let us take two examples. This is 7 number of players which are from index 0 to 6, and this is 8 number of players index from 0 to 7. So if the number of players is odd, then add the centermost element to the answer. So n by 2, 7 by 2 is what? 7 by 2 will give us 3. So this is the centermost element. So add it to the answer. Okay, so I have added it to the answer. Now if n modulo 2 equals to 0, so if the array is even, then I need to start from the center two elements. Then I'll expand the array like this. So what are the indexes of these two elements? It is I equals to n by 2 plus 1 and j equals to n by 2. What is n? N is 8. This is the case of even. So I is equals to n by 2 minus 1, which is nothing but 3, and j is equals to n by 2, which is nothing but 4. So this is my I and this is my j. Okay. Now what I'll do, at every step I'll decrease I by 1 and increase j by 1. Okay. Are you getting my point? And if the number of elements is odd, then I equals to n by 2 minus 1 and j equals to n by 2 plus 1. How? So here n by 2 is 3, n by 2 minus 1 will be what? 7 by 2 minus 1 will be 2. So this would be my I, and j equals to n by 2 plus 1 will be what? 4. So this would be my j. So I'll take these two elements, then these two elements, then these two elements, and so on. Okay. So I have set I and j. Now until I is greater than equal to 0, subtract I by 1 at every step and increase j by 1. Add the elements at indexes I and j to the priority queue. So basically add these two in the priority queue, then I will come here, then j will come here. Then add these two in the priority queue, I will come here, j will come here. Then add these two in priority queue, and so on. Okay, we are expanding the array in reverse direction. So q dot push a of I and q dot push a of j, and answer equal to answer plus q dot top. So the top element of the priority queue will have the maximum value. So we will add it to our answer and we'll pop it out because we cannot select the same player more than once. We'll keep repeating this process until I is greater than equal to 0. So when I will be equal to 0, your j will be equal to n minus 1. Okay, so we have considered all the cases, and finally I'll return answer. What would be the time complexity? Time complexity would be big O of n log n, because there are n elements, the size of the loop is n, and pushing an element in the priority queue or popping an element from the priority queue takes log n time. Okay, what would be the auxiliary space? Here the auxiliary space will be the space occupied by the priority queue. So in the priority queue, let us assume that there are n by 2 elements. So it would be big O of n, order of n. Okay, so this would be the time complexity and this would be the auxiliary space. Now let's submit this code. So let's submit it. So we have solved this question successfully. I hope you have understood the solution completely. Thank you.